Hi, I'm Ellie Glazer, sharing a special podcast with you for the sake of our dear and beloved friend, Michael Stern, Yosef Elimelech ben Yehudis, who should have a refuah shalema, a speedy and full recovery. As many of you may know, Mike is currently in critical condition in the cardiac intensive care unit at Lankenau Hospital in Philadelphia after suffering a major cardiac event last Wednesday. He has not yet regained consciousness, and we are davening fervently that he awakens quickly and resumes complete neurological and cognitive functioning. I want to share with you a brief thought that I think is really apropos for Mike, and just so happens to be from this week's daily Mishnah Berurah learning schedule. We're currently in the topic of Hilchos Shabbos, the laws of Shabbos, Siman Shin Lamed Gimel, chapter 333. The Shulchan Aruch writes that certain rabbinical prohibitions can be waived on Shabbos if it's for the sake of a mitzvah. In this case, specifically dealing with the need to provide for Shabbos guests. If a person has a storage room, whereby otherwise he wouldn't normally access it on Shabbos, he is permitted to retrieve food for his guests that's stored away, as well as rearrange, or even remove if necessary, large boxes of grain or barrels of wine in order to clear out an area for the guests. The Rimar writes explicitly, V'chol shvus shehitiru mishum tzorach mitzvah, mutter gam kein l'tzorach orchim. Any rabbinical Shabbos prohibition that is allowed for the needs of a mitzvah is also allowed for the needs of a guest. And the Mishnah Berurah comments on this. He writes, Gadol haknasas orchim yoser mehel kabbalas pnei hashchina. Greater is serving guests than greeting the face of the divine presence. Now this is a famous teaching of the rabbis. We were introduced to this concept a couple of weeks ago in the Parsha when Abraham interrupted his prophetic audience with Hashem in order to tend to 3 travelers who happened upon his location. Think about that for a minute. If the creator of the universe decides to communicate directly with someone, it's probably not for some mundane matter, like the score of the Eagles game or what new restaurant opened in town. It's more like a life-changing discussion. But nevertheless, Abraham abandoned that prophecy to arrange for a meal and resting place for his guests. It's unbelievable. How could that be? Imagine, lahavdil, if the President of the United States was talking to you in your home, and you told him, hold on a second, someone's at the door, I've got to see who it is. It's unfathomable. So I think there are 2 really important lessons that we can learn from here, and that amazingly embody the greatness that is Michael Stern, Yosef Elimelech ben Yehudis. We understand that every human being, regardless of religion or nationality, is a child of God. Hashem is Avinu Shebashamayim, our Father in heaven, and we are all His children. So imagine that while we're talking with Donald Trump in our home, it's actually Jared and Ivanka at the door. Of course he would want us to greet them. They are his children after all. Nothing would give him greater pleasure. And I'm not in any way making any political comments here, one way or another. So the same scenario could have been replicated 2 years ago if President Obama was in your house, and it was his 2 daughters knocking. He would be upset if you didn't answer it. So Abraham saw these guests as no less than children of the Almighty who needed assistance. Nothing would give God greater pleasure than to see someone taking care of his children. The second idea I think we can derive is that we're taught that every human being is not just a child of the Almighty, but created b'tselem Elokim, created in the image of God. We all have a sublime neshama. And a person of the spiritual stature of Abraham can see that soul shining through the mask of the body. He can relate to everyone on that special level. So in one aspect, he wasn't leaving the audience with God. He was just transferring his attention, as it were. I think these 2 thoughts aptly describe the incredible uniqueness of Mike, Yosef Elimelech ben Yehudis. I think they're a combination of his innate, unconditional love for people and his personal growth and development as a representative and teacher of Torah. It's no exaggeration that he and his incredible wife Denise have hosted literally thousands and thousands of Shabbos guests. Ask any one of the myriad of people from Yerushalayim to Philly to Milwaukee to Boca, and they will describe a truly transformative experience. Why? Because Mike identifies with all Jews for their intrinsic value, seeing through the facade of their cultural background or lack of Jewish education or experience. He connects with their essence, their tselem Elokim, and honors them as children of our Father in heaven, who wants nothing more for them than to reconnect with him through the conduit of Torah and Haknosas Orchim, as so poignantly provided by Mike and Denise. If I may be so bold as to suggest a tweak to this Maimer Chazal, to this statement of the rabbis, when it comes to Mike. Instead of saying, Gadol Haknosas Orchim Yoser Mehakabalas Panei Ashchina, greater is serving guests than greeting the face of the divine presence, perhaps we could say, Shava Haknosas Orchim Behakabalas Panei Ashchina. Serving guests is equal to greeting the face of the divine. Because for Mike, it really is one and the same. And finally, if I may offer a call to action for all of us. Again, I have no desire nor intention to dive into any political commentary, other than to observe that we are in an extremely fractured social environment currently. I don't think it's any coincidence that this very specific halacha falls out on the daily Mishnah Berurah schedule exactly on Tuesday, Election Day. Now, I don't think it's offering any suggestion whatsoever for whom to vote. But I do think it's overtly obligating us how to act toward others with whom we might disagree. And it doesn't have to do anything at all with philosophical political opponents. If all of us can borrow Mike's lenses to look at anyone we encounter, especially our spouses, children, friends, and family, and see them as beloved children of God, and identify with their Tselem Elokim, I know this will provide a major merit for speedy and complete recovery for Yosef Elimelech ben Yehudis. This comes easy to Mike. It might not necessarily come easy to us. But lefum tzara agra, to the extent of the effort, is the reward.